Hello, my name's Katie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I altered my favourite pants, turned them from loose, baggy, unfitting pants into a much more fun version of pants. Oh yeah, so these pants, my favourite pants. So I've had my favourite pants for an extremely long time, perhaps 15 years or so, and they were getting pretty worn out. They were also getting too loose and baggy, and they would fall down whenever I tried to wear them. Now, I don't know if that's because the elastic had finally died, or if because my body shape has changed, they were just too loose. I didn't want to let them go though. I wanted to try and revamp them into something more fun and, more importantly, more wearable. So I thought these were a great candidate for my first alteration project. As for making them more fun, I wanted to make the leg a bit narrower so they weren't as baggy. And then I saw this photo on Instagram from a shop of a very interesting pair of pants that I wanted to try and emulate. Hi, it's George here, the elephant in the room. I just wanted to let you know that Katie has decided to not link to the shop where she saw the inspirational pants because it didn't list which country they were made in, and she was concerned that somebody may have been exploited in the making of the pants. Now back to your scheduled programming. So the first thing I did was cut the bottoms off of the pants so that they weren't too long anymore. Basically all I did was just measure up 10 centimeters from the bottom of each one and just cut it straight across. The next thing I decided to do was try bleaching them like the pants in the inspiration photo. I thought I'd do that first just in case I ruined the pants, then I won't have wasted any sewing time. I happened to find some old bleach in my laundry, which was handy. I didn't measure how much bleach I used, but the first time I bleached them I used around 1 part bleach to 5 parts water, and I ended up soaking them all afternoon. Hi, so I originally meant to leave the pants in the bleach for 1 or 2 hours, but it ended up being about 6 hours. So let's see how they are. Sorry about the bad light, but it looks like, oh, okay. They have they've changed colour slightly, but not as much as I would like, so I think the bleach was probably too diluted. There was a slight effect, but not as much as I would have liked. So I washed the pants and I tried bleaching them again a few days later. In the second batch I used around 1 part bleach to 3 parts water, so it was a bit stronger, and there was definitely more of an effect. I also bleached them all afternoon and overnight, which I don't know makes that much of a difference, but I thought I'd try it for longer as well. There was definitely more of a pronounced effect, still not as much as the pants in the picture, but I was quite satisfied at how they looked at this stage, so I decided to move on to the sewing part. So to narrow the legs of my pants, I decided to leave the outside seams down the outer leg intact because they had a nice, cool, kind of worn look from the 10 plus years that I've had them, so I didn't want to get rid of that. So I decided to work on the inside seam instead. That seam had a lot of reinforcement in it and it would have just been a nightmare to unpick, so I just cut it off. I didn't have any concerns about losing any fabric because I was making them narrower anyway, so it didn't matter. So I ended up with this weird strip of sewn fabric. Then I put the pants on and I decided how much narrower I wanted to be, and I marked it with pins, and then I took them off again and drew a line with my ruler and pencil where I wanted the seam to be. Then I sewed the seam. I don't really have any video of sewing because that's kind of boring, but here you are. And to finish off the seam I just used my zigzag scissors, which I think in a lot of places are called pinking shears, to neaten off the edge. I do think this edge will need more reinforcement, but it's going to be very difficult to sew a second line of stitching now that they're in pants form, which I hadn't thought of beforehand, but I'll think of a solution later. Next up, I moved on to replacing the waistband. As you can see, the original waistband was half elastic at the back and just a straight strip at the front, and that would have been a bit difficult to try and preserve, so I just cut the whole thing off. And then I measured around the circumference of the waist to see how much fabric I would need for a new waistband. I went through my stash and found a suitable piece of fabric from a skirt that I'd made earlier this year, which I'll show you here. I actually needed to cobble 2 pieces together to make it long enough, but that was fine. No one's going to see it anyway. And because of that, patchwork pattern will hide any seams anyway, so it's all right. So I made that into a loop, and then I folded it in half, and then I sewed it to the waistband all the way around. I almost stuffed up. I forgot to leave a hole to insert the elastic, but I remembered at the last second, so I got out my quick unpick, whose name is Buffy, and quickly sorted that job out, so that was fine. I'll tell you why she's called Buffy another time. I also neatened this seam by doing the pinking shears method, and then I also did an extra line of stitching around just underneath the first line, so it catches that extra fabric and keeps it flat so that it doesn't become uncomfortable while I'm wearing them. Then I inserted the elastic. So I got a piece of, I have to admit, rather cheap elastic that I'd bought last year online, and I measured that, I cut that, I inserted it into the waistband. Little tip, attach a safety pin to the end, and then it'll be much easier to thread it through the waistband or whatever you're trying to thread it through. And then at the other end, attach it to the garment with just a pin would be fine, and that'll stop you from pulling the other end through accidentally. Saves a lot of time. So I threaded the elastic all the way through and pulled out both ends, and then sewed it together to create a loop inside the waistband. So my pants were pretty much done at that point, and I wore them a few times, but I felt like I hadn't gone far enough. The bleach looked alright, but I still wasn't satisfied, so I decided to bleach them again. I had to go out to the supermarket and buy more bleach. It's actually very cheap. It was only $4 for a 2.5 litre bottle where I bought it from, so it's quite a cheap way of doing interesting things with your clothes actually. Now this time I decided to really go for it, and I used pure bleach, and it stank. Whenever I went into the laundry, it smelled like I was walking past the chemicals room in your local swimming pool. If you do this, please use gloves and maybe goggles too if you think it might splash. It is a dangerous chemical, so be careful. So I soaked that for about 4 hours, and when it came out, well, it worked. The bottom half of my pants were white, and there was a very distinct line across. Although it wasn't a straight line like in the inspiration pants, it was more wavy, but I kind of like that. It looks more organic, I think. And I really wanted to make sure the pants looked like they'd been bleached deliberately, not just some kind of laundry fail, and I think they definitely look like that now. So here's what my pants look like now. Much more interesting, I think. I really like obviously the bleach. I also left the bottom hem unhemmed for a more distressed effect, and I really like how that looks. I did make a few little cuts in them around near the bottom to also add more distressing, which you can't really see yet, but I think over time, as they get washed and worn, that will come out a bit more. So yeah, these are my favourite pants now, and I really like them. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it gave you some ideas, maybe inspiration for altering your own old clothes that you're no longer satisfied with. Please subscribe, please like, even if you don't want to. I hope you enjoyed the video anyway, and that you have a great day. Bye! Hello, my name is Katie, and welcome back to my channel. Dude, will you keep the door shut? Dude, you're sitting on my book now. Oh my god. I can't see my notes. May I please have my book? Thank you. Dorcas.